Hi there everyone! So this is my very first video on a series about Adjacent. As you guys can tell, I'm a little bit nervous. I've never really liked seeing myself on video, so we're gonna just keep going with this because I know how important it is to share the journey of what I'm trying to build. So that brings me to, what am I trying to build? My name is Rachel and I'm the CEO and founder of a company called Adjacent, like nearby. It actually comes from the idea of adjacent possible. It's this idea that there could be the next great thing just ever so slightly further away from what you're doing right now. And that as you keep on moving forward in the future, you can see just a little bit further and further in terms of what that possible is. So, what is Adjacent? My boyfriend always likes to say that it's kind of like Tinder for entrepreneurs, and that is a really big facet of it. It's a place where you can find people that are working on projects that you might enjoy also working with. Or if you have a project, you can post your project and find other collaborators and mentors and supporters. But there's a whole other facet that I really love to talk about. It's bigger than that. It's not just a matching platform. It's a place that I firmly believe can shift how people do entrepreneurship by making it easier to connect to the right people. And one day, probably in 3 or 4 months, we're going to be adding this component that enables you to track which tasks you're doing, and it learns from the effectiveness of the tasks that you're doing to sort of shift your energy. Because a lot of people either sell, and then realize, oh shoot, we don't have a product that's actually built, or they build a product for years without ever talking to anyone. So they have this really cool product and it actually doesn't solve a problem that anyone's willing to pay for. So those are two different phenotypes of different ways that people can incorrectly use energy in the most efficient way. And I think that shifting where people are putting their energy can help create more efficient startups. Those little signals also on the back end can create a way for investors that are typically looking for people who went to Harvard, people who went to MIT, people who went to Stanford, and all of those, or who worked at Google or Facebook or whatnot. All of those are signals of how they think these people could do. They think that, like, oh, this is a sign that they are a smart person, so they will create a successful startup. And it is a pretty good indicator. However, I think that there's a lot of people that might not have been able to go to college, who needed, because of family constraints, to work in their small town instead of being able to go to San Francisco or New York to be able to do the networking needed to get into many of those jobs. And it's easier and easier to create really cool things, but in this current economic environment, it's harder and harder to actually get those cool ideas into scalable businesses. So I think that Adjacent can provide better indicators of where people are really creating cool ideas that aren't really being seen through the current ways of how investors evaluate startups. So I really think that Adjacent can shift economic opportunity for a lot of people. So that's why I've spent quite a lot of money and a decade of my life working on this project. So I really hope that you guys will stick around and as I start to share my journey. So thank you.